All right. Well, my time is running now, so life expectancy wise. So let's get this over with. Um, it has been extremely confusing up until just recently. First, I discovered this quasi-official uh, promotion of what's being uh, euthanized, euphemism, the corporate self-help policy, and which entails active defense, which is defined as um, hacking anyone that you either think may have hacked or tried to hack you or may potentially be planning to hack you. Virtually nothing, no media exposure on it, although it's if you really look into it, it's acknowledged that this is the going thing. But it's when it does get brief exposure, it's known as it's normally dubbed hacking back policy, and it was very troubling to find that it's complete license for complete vigilante cyber terrorism for corporations to at their own discretion decide who has or might cause a threat, and then actively sabotage, destroy their hardware, etc. So that's very disturbing, obviously, and reading the arguments suggesting its constitutionality are so convoluted and sick that, I mean, you really, no one could take it seriously. I couldn't imagine anyone really taking it seriously. I think the idea is it's being pushed through in a way that it's not being challenged. But at the same time, I also discover, I've been well aware, the Department of Defense and really the federal government, the NSA in particular, U.S. intelligence, has started in 2016, so this would be after Edward Snowden leaks, which today was still being talked about as Snowden's leaks, 2014 I believe it was. But what Edward Snowden's ultimate concern was even if you think the government is awesome and they're doing a great job, understand that if the party gets elected you don't agree with and implements policies you don't agree with, that all of this mass surveillance has built in the capability to be weaponized. And that's what I've experienced. The use of mass surveillance systems as military cyber warfare weapons deployed against me. I originally became very concerned as more and more Department of Defense, mainly their network information, DISA, DISA, and so forth, started appearing as my understanding, and I think the understanding of the general public is that cyber attacks, that is the use of cyber warfare, military cyber warfare weapons, is usually considered an act of war, particularly when done covertly and maliciously. And I've been documenting what are would seem to be very clearly in line with U.S. cyber military warfare weapons. I'm pulling up, like I said, it's mainly DoD addresses as far as the government side. A lot of Amazon Nova, but I understand that their partnership with U.S. Marines, and it's all very dark. But when you start seeing all these DoD addresses, and then you go to the DoD website where they boast about being the most lethal killing force that's ever existed, and they are, that they're not the people you want to discover are involved in a prolonged cyber terrorism siege. So I was quite confused, but I also, would say, even if I could work my way past the fact that, the government couldn't be evil enough to be involved in some of this. There goes one camera. Still recording? All right, good. Let's get you back up. At least my camera dropped before I did. I didn't think that would happen. All right. Let's see here. How about I put a little this? Sorry, I have to resort to kind of all this weird little secondary cameras because everything gets broken into and wired. But very disturbing to see these DoD addresses. And then I kind of jokingly, after I discovered, it turns out the DoD is opening up the NSA database. That's basically the combined FBI, this big controversial, massive, collect everything on every one thing that's happening. Database is open to thousands, countless, I don't even know how many thousands of independent contractors. Private security forces, and the DoD will actually lease them out cyber warfare weapons and give them access to these. They do restrict access to, their top secret intelligence on, China, Russia, and stuff. But as far as U.S. citizens go, it's all open to these contractors and every federal agency. And now what I'm explaining about the government is all coming from their official publications. You may take my personal narrative with a grain of salt, particularly if it's not provided in the greater context of the 100 hours of footage and several terabytes of forensics I've collected. So the real focus here, I'm intending to be what is on the public domain, and it has made sense of how something nonsensical that has happened to me. These DoD apparently pretty poorly vetted contractors, ranging from private individuals to massive corporations, all have access to and share and contribute to this database. So government intelligence being shared with private parties, and the private parties are all allowed to don't have to obey the Constitution. Apparently, neither does the government anymore, from the official policy. I'll explain in a moment. Yes, to my astonishment and horror, but also to my relief, oh, well, good. It just turns out that the government gives access, leases out access to countless private mercenaries that mainly cater to the Fortune 100 and so forth. Well, that's comforting. Okay, well, that's better than I guess the U.S. military elite cyber ops targeting me. So okay, that's cool. But the were called, I think that bag calls them black bag jobs, the secret break-ins have been rapidly progressing in frequency and boldness and brazenness. That is, at this point, they seem to almost be, or maybe, I mean, they're making it very blatantly. My dash board in my car got slashed up, presumably to get to the foam under it. It makes me nervous. That's where the computer system is, and the steering column and so forth. And so I wonder if, here in these steep LA roads, if my car may malfunction. Photos are on this phone of the cuts they made. I have also on this phone at the moment. All this stuff I'm sure will disappear. Photos of a very fancy drilled lock. They're using the standard FBI. They like to put stuff in their walls. They are big fans of 3D printed. I don't know if it would technically classify as micro or nano systems that can basically just be injected into anything. Very impressive. Very. I mean, like makes 1984 look like a utopia. I'm wired like Al Capone. Everything is transmitted through the systems inside my house and all of the networks immediately outside of it, and then of course anywhere I bring my phone. I also bought an iPhone. It got quickly hacked and compromised. By Sprint. It's all Sprint-linked. .net. Sprint is very aggressively and publicly advertising to the Department of Defense their services. But on my IP addresses are Sprint link or Sprint.net. Everything I have, this cell phone right now is I pay Google for their G Suite Enterprise, their top tier, most secure version. The management of it's pretty straightforward for someone with at least intermediate skills. So I made it as secure as possible. However, right now on my S8, which is one of my 2 recordings here, it is subservient, or in technical terms, a slave to the attacker's Google Cloud Enterprise Edition. And when I try to download the real one, the Enterprise Edition kicks it off and deletes it. But Google boasts, you install it, you'll have the same security they have doing there in Google. So there you go. The screenshots I take on this phone, it's like I said, subtlety of a baboon. It's supposed to be covert, but they're using such extreme overkill, and also it's clearly being done overtly. The breaking in, the hacking, to make it very well known, and that's official policy. So let's get to that, right? To my absolute horror, and I am a completely disillusioned person at this point. Well, I maybe it's good you won't see this video, because if you learn this, then I think you would be too. To my horror, I finally last night hit the treasure trove of U.S. official cyber security or cyber defense policy. If I live long enough, I'll put the link to these documents in the video description. It's like hpls.org that originates the stuff. Then it just gets reprinted and blessed. But official U.S. policy right now, per the official government documents, White House executive orders, Department of Defense publications, and policies. So I'm citing right now official policies. I have PDFs of that I downloaded off of the very hard to find. But official government advisory, they're on the public domain, but not anywhere one would think to look for them. They're on my phone, and I would gladly give the link, but that's why I'm about to be assassinated. So per these policies, let me get to the good stuff in these policies. Per U.S. Cyber official, the current policy, and now, I'm not an attorney, but my basic understanding is, so government operates on policy. U.S. says our policy regarding trade with Mexico is as such, and that's how the government proceeds. Now, every so often, policies are found to be illegal by courts of law, or policy will always lose against a law, and then a law will always lose against constitutional law, or in theory it should. That's the way the system's supposed to work. Congress passes a law, courts deem it unconstitutional, and Congress has to ratify the Constitution, which is not very easy to do. So that's the process. So, but a policy is what will govern the conduct of an agency and the operations of an agency, unless legal challenge or public backlash changes it, or deters it, or rules it unlawful. But apparently that has not yet happened with these policies, clearly. As once again, I have found no media coverage, and I have watched endless hours of talks by people very concerned about these mass surveillance programs, but they seem as unaware as I was that the following policies are official and are the current operating policies of the U.S. government. In their cyber defense, they have adopted a policy of active defense. And active defense, covers the pretense of it is cyber threats are growing so fast, we can't keep up with them. It's a threat to national security and our economic prosperity and so forth. And there is some truth to that, yes, some. But we dominate the world in this stuff, as much as we like to fuss about China. And that's full of Gregor too. You know, they when they're advocating for these policies, oh, we need these. But then when asked in a different context, like how good are we? Oh, we're so superior to every other nation by leaps and bounds, and we are. so per this policy, there is grounds for launching attacks on three types of targets. The first two are quite understandable. Number one, covert operations to counter or deter major states, China and Russia in particular, I think. Then you have type 2 threats, which are mid-level states, Iran, North Korea, so forth. And then you have where everything goes south. Type 3, the death by 1,000 hacks policy, which I laughed when I saw that term because that's what's happening to me. But the policy refers to any person, particularly individuals in the United States, that are under cyber defense policy fair game for any and all operations launched against kind of attacks that are military launches against foreign adversaries, including Al-Qaeda. And that's what I'm getting, except I think it's terribly unfashionable to have special forces, just kick down your door and blast you away for a corporation reporting you have the potential of exposing sensitive corporate data, whistleblowing. But anyhow, under this type 3 enemy, death by 1,000 hacks, policy clearly states that even non-sophisticated people that do quote unquote non-technologically sophisticated individuals that perform quote unquote seemingly insignificant attacks are to be targeted under this policy.